Alright guys, now in the last video I said I was going to keep you guys up to date on the Ford small block, and today I measured a couple of things, 4 things that I could do since this short block was already kind of pre-assembled. Owner, trust the machine shop that the rod bearing clearances, their main bearing clearances, their piston and wall clearances are good, the piston rings are set and filed right. So since I'm not touching that, I'm going to do as much as I can. So what I am going to check for is the crankshaft end plate, which for Fords, from what I found for the small block Ford, you want between 4 and 8 thousandths. So here I have the dial indicator zeroed out with the crankshaft pushed all the way back. So that's at 0. We're going to go forward, and we're at 5. So we got 5 thousandths of end plate, which is good. We're within range. And so now that that's good, we checked it, we're going to check our connecting rod side clearances for the next part, since we've already got the block facing us. So we're going to take our feeler gauges. Now for the connecting rods, side clearances, they're calling for between 7 thousandths and 15 thousandths. Now, you could figure out exactly where each one is, or you can kind of average it, which some guys may not like that, but it works just as good because you're going to be within range. It does help to probably know. I mean, I know exactly where each one is, but I'm going to show you guys the way to narrow it down, and then you can figure out exactly where everything is at. But what I found was the tightest one was at 12 thousandths. Widest one was at 15 actually, which was the big end of it. So I'm going to take, since I already know 12 is for me, so let's pick a 10,000 feeler gauge, right? We're going to go in here, split the rods. That slides in. That slides in. That definitely slides in there. That slides in there. So our 10 thousandths feeler gauge goes in everywhere. So we know we're definitely there, and it wasn't very loose on the end ones, so we're pretty good. Now we're going to bump it up to, say, we're going to go up another 2 thousandths. Alright, so let's grab a 12 thousandths feeler gauge. Okay, so these connecting rods are definitely 12. It's got a nice drag, and the thing to keep in mind when you're doing this is you don't want to be jamming the feeler gauge in there. You don't want to be bending it. It's like threading a needle. It's going to slide right in. You shouldn't be catching too much. So this one's got a little bit more. So that one's definitely 12. This one's got a little bit more. This end one, this one was good with the 10. So we're going to say this one's 10 thousandths, this one's 12 thousandths. Now our 2 middle ones are a little bit wider. So we're going to go up to 14. We're going to see if that works here. 14's pretty good there. 14's pretty good there. So we got 14, 14, 12, and 12. That's pretty good. We're within range. They were calling for 7 thousandths to 15 thousandths, so we're all good here. Now, we're going to take our base off. We're going to rotate the engine. Alright, now, next thing we're going to check is the camshaft end plate. So, we're going to set up our dial indicator. Make sure you got it in a good sturdy spot so it doesn't fall on you, because it fell on me already once, which I'm not happy about. But put it in a good spot. This cam gear does have a little ridge in it. You don't want it in there because any little bit will throw you off. You want to be as accurate as possible. So we're pretty good there. Loosen that up. Zero it out. Get past these damn needles. Alright. Alright, we're pretty good there. Alright. So with the camshaft all the way towards me, I'm zeroed out. We're at 0. You push it in. It goes negative. So we got about 4 thousandths of end play, which is right where we want to be. On these Fords, you want between 2 and 4 thousandths of end play. From all the information I read, and I double check all the info, even on books, go on forums, what's worked for guys successfully. It's cheap insurance. Everybody has technology at the tip of their fingers, so always double check what the books call for. If it's not a stock application, do not follow the chassis manual. Do not follow the Ford engine manual, because stock specifications may not work for a high performance application. So just keep that in mind. Now what we're going to check how far the piston is sitting in the bore. And this is usually something you do when you calculate compression, which is one thing. I did a rough number. This thing was pretty close to 0. So I just did a rough number calculating off the piston part number, the cylinder head CCs, and at a 0 deck with a 40 thousandths head gasket, which is pretty common for a Falpro, we were at like 9.8 to 1, which is good for pump gas. But I wanted to be sure about that. So take our dial indicator, we lock it on the deck surface, and make sure you do not put it over the piston. So now we're going to drop our dial indicator onto the piston. And now what you're going to end up doing is, I'm not going to do this right now because this one is a little trickier, because you do have to find that sweet spot. So you're going to rotate the engine, and then once you hit that spot where the piston's just barely rocking, that's usually where your 0 spot's going to be. So on this one, I literally had like a half a thou movement where the piston was just sitting right at the top or was rocking. So after you figure that out, you remove your base, set that up out of the way. You put your straight edge, I got a machinist straight edge, bought years ago. Put it across the deck. If you got domes, don't put it over the domes. You want deck of the surface to your main part of the piston. So this one, it's right at 6 thousandths, and that's what I had earlier. So these pistons are going to be about 6 thousandths in the cylinder. So now you can, calculate your compression based off of your combustion chamber size and your thickness of your head gasket, your stroke, bore, all that good stuff. So I just showed you guys what I checked out today on this, and we're good. The next step will be to degree the camshaft and check the push rod length. So I'm going to end up, I'm only going to check out one set of intake and exhaust lobes on this camshaft. It was already in an engine, but I want to make sure everything's good. And then I'm going to set up a cylinder head to measure for the push rod length, and those will be the 2 next things. After that, we should be able to put this thing together once we get push rods, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks, get this thing on the engine running stand and fire it up. So stay posted. Thank you guys for watching. If you like the videos, share, subscribe, tell your buddies, like the page on Facebook, Copper's Garage. See you guys next time.